Let's talk about pyramids. We are talking about energy being consumed by a certain organism. So we have actually a food pyramid that is being displayed in our ecosystem. First off, we have energy here in the form of the sun. Primary producers are the first guys on that pyramid, and actually you could just say producers here since I'm not showing you another kind. These guys are going to be photosynthetic organisms. They are going to produce their own food. My autotrophs, they are called producers. I can actually see here in this pyramid the kind of area, the green area, is representing the amount of organisms that you should find in that ecosystem. What that's telling me is that you should find a lot of producers in an ecosystem in order for it to function properly. Next up are primary consumers. Consumers are going to eat producers directly. Primary consumers eat producers. These are known as herbivores. So I'm seeing this grasshopper getting that nice little snack from the angiosperm, the flower. I can see that I've got a lot of primary consumers here in this pyramid, but definitely not as much as producers, shown in the green again. A lot of brown, not as much as that green. Secondary consumers, shown by this rodent here, they're going to eat primary consumers. That's definitely how they're defined. They can also eat producers too. They can eat further down that pyramid, but they are definitely defined as secondary consumers because they can eat primary consumers. So there's that rodent eating that grasshopper. There are both carnivores and omnivores. I have some in the pyramid. Not as much as primary consumers, but I still have some. Further along that pyramid to give me that top shape are my tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers eat primary and secondary. So primary and secondary, really labeled because of the secondary consumers that they eat, like the snake being shown here eating the rodent. The snake can also eat the grasshopper if they so choose. These are carnivores and omnivores because they can also eat producers as well. Not a lot of tertiary consumers to go around in that ecosystem. Appreciate that this ecosystem, we have less of the top level, less of the second level, and so forth. We have the most at the bottom of that pyramid, which are my producers, in order for the ecosystem to stabilize. Not to forget, not really part of that pyramid shape, but still very much a part of our ecosystem, are decomposers. I'm showing you some great little fungi here. Decomposers break down dead material. They return vital nutrients to the soil in order for producers to function. Fungi, lots of bacteria are part of our ecosystem as decomposers. So check it, the waste products from my tertiary consumers go to my decomposers, so do my secondary consumers, primary as well. All these waste products, even from the producers, get consumed by the decomposers. Those are their energy means, the waste products, and they actually recycle the nutrients back to the soil for the producers to then generate their own food and help the different organisms in that ecosystem along the pyramid. Without a proper balance, it's a pyramid for a reason. An ecosystem can collapse and result in non-dysfunctional web. So what I mean by that is if I end up having a lot more tertiary consumers than I do secondary consumers, that ecosystem will malfunction. If I end up having a lot more secondary consumers than I do primary consumers, that ecosystem will malfunction. So speaking of, I actually want to show you exactly, I kept saying, okay, represented by the green area, represented by the brown area. I'm actually talking about something called biomass. Biomass is the mass of living matter. So if I get the biomass of my producers here, all the autotrophs, if I actually get all the biomass, it's going to be this much, about the green bar, versus the biomass of all the primary consumers, versus the biomass of all the secondary consumers, and so forth. So I can actually see that even though tertiary consumers are much larger than producers, if I look at the individual organism, if I actually get the biomass of all the tertiary consumers, they don't hold a candle to all the biomass of the producers in that ecosystem. In addition, I want to talk about energy loss in the food pyramid. So we're talking about energy conversion. Producers supply the energy, primary consumers eat producers, secondary consumers eat the primary, and so forth. There's energy conversion going on there. In fact, as we go up each level, there's a lot of energy being lost. There's a 90% of energy lost in transfer. Mostly this is heat. I taught you this for cellular respiration. You have some energy being lost. Well, heat's being lost. So what those numbers mean now, if we look at those numbers, there's actually only 10% of those 10,000 joules that the producers have available for energy, only 10% can get transferred to the next level. So 10% of 10,000 is 1,000. That's how much energy gets transferred to the next level, because most of the energy, when you're converting that energy, gets lost. 90% of it gets lost. Only 10% goes to the next level. Well, what about from secondary consumer to primary? 10% gets lost there as well. So let's say all the secondary consumers eat all the primary consumers and all the energy that they have to give. Only 10% will get transferred to that level, and so forth. We can actually see how the pyramid ends. It can't go on forever because there's not enough energy to go around because of that massive energy loss that happens.